Do you remember that scene in the Android saga when Vegeta's ego was over 9,000? He said a bunch of wacky lines that were weird, but yet hilarious and cool to listen to? Well, if you do, you guys would remember Vegeta's fight against Android 19. And alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, giving you a Dragon Ball Uncensored video where I just delve into some of the moments that I really enjoyed about the Dragon Ball series. And we will be talking about Vegeta's ego against Android 19. So let's get started. So, where do we even begin with this? Okay, so Goku's literally getting his ass whooped by Android 19. 19 is sucking the life out of Goku. Goku's, being killed, and when I mean he's sucking the life out of him, I don't mean that in a sexual way. And Vegeta comes out of nowhere with the most badass entrance. He comes in and he fucking kicks 19 in the mouth, and you see that footprint on him. And if you guys play the Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1 games, you guys would remember, like, the Budokai 1 games even, like, kept, like, the whole footprint on 19's mouth after Vegeta kept him. So you would see that from the very beginning, Vegeta was already dominating 19 before the fight even started. Then Goku gets out of there. Vegeta shocks the world by turning into a Super Saiyan, and this is something that I felt the anime adaptation did so much better than the manga. Because when Vegeta turned Super Saiyan in the anime, we get to see this awesome flashback of, Vegeta training his ass off to, be stronger than Trunks and Goku. And in the manga, we really don't see any of this stuff. We all assume that, Vegeta's training with everybody else, but there's really just a time skip. But the anime really expanded on this and how irritated Vegeta was, not being able to turn into a Super Saiyan, being weaker than Goku and his future son, even though he wouldn't know that that was his future son at the time. And I really love to see that. And in addition, we also get to see this awesome sequence where Vegeta is on this nameless planet, and there's like this asteroid belt that's like flying towards the planet, and Vegeta's like destroying all these asteroids or meteors that are coming, and there's this big one, and Vegeta just like pushes it. And here is where we get, a difference between the Japanese dub and the English dub. In the English dub, Vegeta has a complete narration of him destroying these meteors going to this planet the entire time. In the Japanese dub, Vegeta doesn't say a thing. Like, literally, what you see is Vegeta starts talking, and then everything else is just pretty much visuals of Vegeta training, Vegeta going on this planet. And honestly, I really like the English dub of this more because I felt that a commentary was way more fitting for this scene, as you get a much more introspective approach of how Vegeta was like viewing himself compared to others. Like, it was kind of like an inside Vegeta moment, which is one thing I really loved. And to see that in the English dub, how like, after, Vegeta's like wiping all these asteroids that are coming towards him, there's one of them that like that took everything he had, and because he was training so hard and he was like exhausted, he like blasted himself down, and he's like all cut up, his hands are bloody, he hits the ground, and he turns into a Super Saiyan. So you can immediately see that when Vegeta was saying in the dub, "I don't care anymore," in the Japanese version, he wasn't really saying anything. He's just saying like, damn. He was just getting irritated, and he just became a Super Saiyan. It gave you two completely different perspectives, where the Japanese made Vegeta just seem like he was finally rewarded for what he did, and the English dub made it seem like he kind of just lost, thinking too hard about what he was doing. Like, that's what the problem was. He was thinking too hard about passing Goku, and when that went away, he was able to transform. And I really kind of like that little cross of how both dubs interpret his Super Saiyan transformation. So we get back to Earth, right? And Vegeta, he's a Super Saiyan now. And the awesome thing about this is he starts talking the most shit. This guy was like fucking Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, NBA trash talk. He's just talking so much crap to 19. And, in the Japanese dub, and even in the manga, like, he was talking crap. Like, in all versions, he was talking crap to 19. I love some of his lines where he says, "Your bonehead creator forgot to omit a very important part of your memory. Do any of you androids experience fear?" And, my favorite line of all is when he says, "Fresh out of the factory with no warranty and already broken." It's like just awesome seeing Vegeta just talking so much shit to 19, and you can see that when the fight starts, like 19 is hitting him, he's just dodging 19's blows so much, 19's getting mad. And in the Goku versus Android 19 fight, that was very different, because in the Goku 19 fight, you know, Goku was handling 19, but you know, his blows weren't really like damaging 19 as much. Like when Vegeta hits 19, like you see like 19's like, oh shit, like that fucking hurt. And like you could see, like, even though 19 is an artificial creation, he's completely artificial, 19 was completely aware of how fucked he was in this situation. So when Vegeta was talking about how, do any of you androids experience fair, even though that was the dub line, it was like 19 was experiencing fair, even though he probably shouldn't, because you can program an android to obviously have certain emotions. But 19 was scared as fuck. He was a true artificial human, even though he was completely artificial in that nature. And I just love the fact that as this fight goes on, there is a point in it where Android 19 manages to grab onto Vegeta, and Vegeta doesn't give the slightest fuck about what 19 was doing. He has like this smirk on his face, and he's completely calm. He's completely, you know, under control of the situation. And 19's like, I'm never going to let go. I'm going to absorb your energy. And Vegeta's like, oh really? That's a pretty big statement to make. And he's like, you should probably think twice. And I just loved it. And he's like, oh really? You'll never let go. And as he's fucking doing this nigga's pulling his arms off. This nigga pulled his arms off, and you see 19's like fucking squirting blood all over the place. He's just like fucking like he's just going like ape shit. He's like, oh shit, my arms are gone. And you see Vegeta looking at his hands. I fucking love that scene where you see Vegeta looking at his hands, and he's like, so this is what you androids do to absorb other people's energy, huh? And just seeing that scene, guys, it just made me love Vegeta's ego in that moment. And sometimes Vegeta's ego would get the best of him, you know, against obviously Android 18 and against Semi-Perfect Cell. Vegeta's ego was actually one of the reasons why he lost eventually, because he let Cell get absorbed. And, you know, against Android 18, he underestimated how strong that she actually was. And even though 18 is not a very intimidating looking character, she crushed his ego later on, where she literally broke his arm. I already did a video talking about this one. She broke his arm. She literally took his pride away, everything, you know, in that battle. And, you know, Vegeta worked so hard to get this power, and just seeing it tank. So there's literally two parts to this Android story. The part is where he dominates 19 and his ego skyrockets, and then when he gets his ass whooped by 18 and it literally tanks. And I just love those two elements of Vegeta, and seeing how when Vegeta eventually just blasted 19 away with his Big Bang attack, as, you know, it would later be named. I really love how, you know, Android 20 is trying to tell him, Vegeta, what are you doing? This is going too far. Vegeta's like talking shit. He's like, oh really? You came here to kill us. What do you think I'm gonna do? And he just blasts him. He just didn't give a fuck. After this, you know, he charges to go find 20 all by himself. He doesn't care about others. And that was the part of Vegeta's ego that I loved. Some parts of Dragon Ball, you hate his ego. But at that particular moment, guys, this was one of my favorite moments in the entire Dragon Ball series, one of my favorite episodes containing Vegeta. And if there is one other thing I would comment on in this video, it would be the fact that at this point of Dragon Ball, Vegeta was in a very weird place, because before, Vegeta was an antagonist. During Namek, he was kind of forced to team up with everybody. But this was a time where Vegeta wasn't necessarily a good guy, and he wanted to become a Super Saiyan and test his own power to satisfy his own ego. So he wasn't a villain, but he really didn't care about anybody, as we see him not really caring about his son Trunks, or baby Trunks at the time, and also not really caring about Bulma and the other Z Fighters Dragon Team members. So that's definitely one other thing I noticed about this period. And I really want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below as to what you thought about the scene. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys. And give me some comments about some other potential Dragon Ball Uncensored videos where you just want me to just chill and just speak my mind on. So have a great day, everybody.